Alright, Shalom. Alright, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim out there spreading this truth like wildfire and all truth and sincerity. All truth and sincerity, should say. And Shalom, all truthfulness and sincerity. And Shalom to the Israelite foreigners who be like unto the speckled bird looking like the other nations. But the Spirit bears witness that they're the children of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakah Kadash, meaning they're Israelites. And Shalom to the real sisters out there, holding down. Oh yeah, Shalom to that. Yeah, Shalom to the real sisters out there, who are holding down, keeping in order. And Shalom to, those who are too young to do the work, but can still tuning in. All right. I want to go into, and this is the first topic I'm going to touch on because also I'm going to touch on some news as well. So I should change it and other topics. I'm going to do that. But I got to touch on this comment by this dude, this ignorant dude, and it appears that maybe either he deleted it or the brother deleted it because he didn't want to deal with scoffers. dude, like I feel that too. And they get annoying. You get fed up with them. They're just there to scoff and not listen. He may have thought, oh, shit, another scoffer. Let me delete it. But yeah, just I'm thinking, it could be wrong. Could be a gainsaying comment, but I'm thinking that maybe it seems like shit. Salakia. It seems like I got an affliction. FYI, going through it, but yeah. It seems like that dude was, he posted that comment out of ignorance, so, and it shows that you still got some of our people that think the way he does, so-called black people. Well, first of all, that there are people walking around that that black people actually exist, that's a real skin color and everything. And then second of all, that they exist. I mean, well, that they come from Africa. Just because, in his words, Africa has a lot of black people. Like I hate using that term because there's no such thing as black people. They're the people that are being called black. I'm gonna get into who they actually are. They're not black, and they're not African, and that African is not even a real nationality. Neither is black. African's not a real nationality. Neither is black. Hey, neither is Native American, man. Not a real nationality. Not the true identity of the people being called Native American. Because before they were in the Americas, they were. I'm gonna show you. They were somewhere else, and the Bible tells you about who the so-called black people. Oh, you mentioned the Mexicans and other so-called Latinos and the Native Americans are, man, as well as who the people who you're thinking of when you think of Africans are. I'm gonna get into that. Because nationalities are not determined by your skin color or what society, what the so-called white man should. Let's just get down to it. What the so-called white man says is your skin color, and it's not determined by your the language you or your recent ancestors spoke, and it's not determined by your recent place, the recent landmass that your ancestors lived on. I mean, the landmass that your recent ancestors were born on and lived on and lived in. You know, it's not determined by any of that or any combination of any of those factors. Nah, nationality. Nationalities are, their nationality is determined by your father's lineage, and everyone's lineage, everyone's father's lineage goes back to 19 nations. Really, everyone belongs. Really, 19 men. 19 men. It goes back to them, which go back to Noah, or which go back to Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And hold on. Let me get it. Let me get that table of nations. This is a very, very valuable resource, by the way. Table of Nations. Table of Nations. At GMS. Their table of nations. It's a basic breakdown, and it's absolutely on point. It's absolutely on point. The table of nations and the 12 tribe chart, by the way. They're on point. And I'm gonna get into who these so-called black people are, because you seem to think that they're Africans, and that also that no so-called Native Americans can be so-called black, because in your words, that's why America and Mexico is filled with brown people. And I'm assuming by Mexico you mean all those other so-called Latino countries as well, because they grouped in with the so-called Mexicans. They're all brothers, but different tribes. Different tribes. I'm gonna get into it. Because first of all, so-called black people, their skin is not even black; it's dark brown. And yours is this, you're yeah. Yours basically so-called Latinos. A lot of so-called Latinos and natives, their skin color is just a lighter shade of brown. Just addressing that point right there. Even though, like I said, skin color does not determine your race. None of those factors none of that those factors, skin color, where your recent ancestors were born at or lived, or what languages they spoke, or you where you live, or the languages they spoke, or they speak, or y'all speak. None of those factors determine your actual nationality, or your identity, your heritage, which is a part of your heritage. Your identity is a part of your heritage. Which is why they got a whole site called My Heritage that goes into what your true identity. But yeah, let me get into this. Let me get into who these so-called black people are and who these so-called Native Americans are. Because you ignorantly think that so-called black people are from Africa, and that so-called there can be no so-called black Native Americans. I'm gonna show you why that's completely wrong. All right, so I'm gonna get into the way how you could tell who these different nations are today, who the Israelites are today, is the description of them in the Bible, and the prophecies about them as well. So let me get Deuteronomy Deuteronomy 28, the prophecies about the Israelites, man. I'm gonna show you why I'm getting it. Okay, so you seem to think, okay, so let me address that first part. Oh, so-called black people are from Africa. So there's no first of all, let me address that. There is no landmass. Well, the landmass that's known as Africa today is not really, it's not Africa. It's not Africa is not the true name of that landmass. First of all, let me show you where that name Africa came from. You know, yep. Africa was named after uh this general, bro. Yeah, they're saying it's not. It's well known. It's actually more well known that you had this Africa. Hold on. Africa was hold on. Africa was named after now they're saying whatever. They gonna now since it's well known, you have these Edomites trying to discredit all that. But hold on. Scorpio, they're saying it existed before Scipio. Okay, now they're saying that shit. Scipio Africanus. That's what it was named after. Now they're saying, oh no, he got the name from them. Whatever, man. Because that area was called, that was, he was the general that conquered the Carthaginian Empire. And, yeah, it was not a Roman province before, so though, what the fuck? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's from the Romans. Yep, because it was called you look into it. It was called Ethiopia. Ethiopia. The area was called Ethiopia. You know, it was called something different. Yeah. When you look in them old maps, it was called Ethiopia. And matter of fact, in the Bible, what's it called? Let's address that first. It's called oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me get this. Let me get this. Get this too. Yep, yep, yep. Uh-huh. Ham's on the Van Bible Dictionary. Got this too. Yep. Yep, 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 yep. Let me get some I gotta get first. The land of Ham, right? Psalms 105 and 23. So let's get that. What that landmass is really called. And because Ethiopia, what that comes from a Greek word meaning burnt face, Ethiops, which is another description of the people because they were dark brown skinned. It's describing the Cushites. So the Cushites today have that name. But also, it's the Hamites, man. But I'm gonna show you that it wasn't just Ham that looked that way. I'm gonna get into that too. Psalms 105 and 23. Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. Now, where is Egypt located at? It's located in so-called Africa. And also, you know, so Egypt. Let me get it. Egypt. Oh, Egypt. Yeah, Egypt's the son of him. Yep, Mizraim. Get where Mizraim. Let me get that scripture about Mizraim. So I'm gonna address that. Mizraim, KJV. Genesis 10 and 6. I'm gonna show you also why I'm bringing this out as well and how this all connects. Genesis 10 and 6. And the sons of Ham, Mizraim, Cush and Mizraim, and put in Canaan. And let me get where it tells you who Mizraim was. Because even Egypt comes from a Greek word meaning meaning bondage, and Mizraim, when you look into it, means bondage. It's really Masrayim, but hey, I'm gonna get what it means. It means, hold on. Referred to the land of Egypt. Misraim mean it or Egypt mean it. Hold on. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. It means let me just this is the best way to do it. Best way to do it right here. Genesis 10 and 6. We get the lexicon. So you what the Hebrew word is and what it means. Hey, hold on. That's right. They say Miss Ryan, but probably yeah, something like that. Miss Ryan. Miss Ryan. Miss Ryan. Miss Ryan. Probably Miss Ryan. Probably Miss Ryan. Because we know, we get what you get my point though. I'm gonna get what it means. I get it from this. Miss Ryan. The say referred to the Egyptians. Hold on. Yeah, Misraim, which means shut in, restraint, misery, tribulation, and distress. Like self-explanatory. He was in captivity in ancient Egypt. Egypt mean that hold on. Egyptos. Hold on. Meaning, hold on. So I gotta move on. I gotta move on. Address other points. Okay, because it goes into Masrayim, which went into that it's basically bondage, restraint, shut in, restraint, so shut in, restraint, so bondage, and in misery and in distress. So there you go. But yeah, moving on now. So, the land of Ham, land of the sons of Ham, Mizraim, the Egyptians, Put, which is, Libyans, Cushites, which is, they're the Ethiopians. And the Canaanites, they also down there as well, They was in our land, they was in the land of Israel. They was in the land of Israel, but, they got, they had to go, They had to go because that land was promised to us and the abominations they was committing. But yeah, so land of Ham, so-called Africa. So first of all, that so no one can be African because it's not the true name of land and the people that are there. But second of all, you make the mistake of assuming that all so-called black people are Africans or Hamites, which is not true. Just because they look similar. And because, like you said, Africa is full of so-called black people, but hey, like so-called black-looking people, I should say. But the northern part, was Egypt full of Ishmaelites, Arabs? No, they moved there, so people move around. So I'm gonna address all that. I'm gonna address why you're wrong about so-called black people being a so-called African or Hamite. You know, because you're saying that because they look like they're Hamites, and because they were taken from the west coast of Africa. I'm gonna get into all that. Why was they taken from the west coast of Africa? And how was they taken? And let me get. I'm gonna address first of all. I'm gonna touch on why the. I'm gonna touch on. I'm going to basically lost my train of thought. Get it? Trying to get back. Amos 7. I'm gonna show you why just because so-called black people look like so-called Africans don't mean they're the same nation. You know how actually, they're Israelites. They fit. Actually, they're Israelites. And I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you how. I'm gonna show you how. I'm going to how they're described. You have different men in the Bible, different Israelite men in the Bible that was described to look like Hamites. Let me get Amos 9:7. Are you not as Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? That's describing the nation of Israel in general. Saith Yahweh, have I not brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Captor, or the Syrians from Kir? So are you not as children of the Ethiopians unto me? Like, do y'all not look like Ethiopians to me. O children of Israel, say to Yahweh. And so that's wait, children of Ethiopians, so that's pretty self-explanatory right there. And you also get also go to also let's go to yeah, so in the days of Amos, the Israelites looked like children of Ethiopians. Many of them still do today. The so-called black people being an example of that. Let me get Moses mistaken for an Egyptian. The Egyptians, they were the brothers of the Ethiopians. So and the brothers and the sons of Ham were not described to look different than each other. Just like Noah's three sons were not described to look different from each other as well. Keep that in mind. Well, let me get Moses mistaken for an Egyptian. Exodus 2:11. This also shows you right here, Exodus 2:11. And it came to pass that in those days when Moses, okay, goes into the story. Basically, Moses, he had to run away because he he put to death an Egyptian for beating on a Hebrew Israelite. So he had to flee the country, and he went to another land. So let me start at verse 15. Now when Pharaoh saw this thing, heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Verse 16. Now the priest of Midian had seven daughters, and they came and drew water, and filled their troughs to water their father's flock. Verse 17. And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. Verse 18. And when they came to Ruel their father, he said, How is it that ye are come so soon today? Verse 19. And they said, An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and they also drew water enough for us and watered the flock. Verse 20. And he said unto his daughters, And where is he? Why is it that ye have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. Verse 21. And Moses, that was him. Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah, his daughter. So there you go. There you go. Moses compared to an Egyptian. Then you have who are Hamites, who are so-called black, so-called black looking, like the Ethiopians, like the Libyans, like the Canaanites. In fact, let me get that Zondervan Bible dictionary. Well, like most nations on earth used to be fully melanated. Let me get the Zondervan Bible Dictionary because hey, the people that wrote this dictionary, the so-called white man, you know, they know, they know they know that so-called black people are not Hamites. Check this out. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. So there you go. Just letting you know right now. Letting you know right there, not the Negroes. You know, so-called black people are not Hamites, even though they look like Hamites. You know, another example is oh, I could wrap it up right there, like pretty much. But I could get Paul, the Apostle Paul, mistaken for an Egyptian. Moses, he was a Levite, he was a Levite, he was an Israelite from the tribe of Levi. And Paul was an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. Let me get Acts 21 and 38. Are not, verse 37. I'm going to start there. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said to the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Verse 38, Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days madest an uproar, and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? Verse 39, but Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, because he was of the southern kingdom of Judah, a city in Sicilia, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. So he looked like an Egyptian. Oh my gosh. Esau is trying to justify. Justify. Well, Esau is trying to basically say that Esau, let me get into who Esau is. I'm gonna get into who Esau is, and hey, these so-called white people, they ain't really white. They ain't really white. You look at so-called white people's skin color, it's not white. It's not like an iPhone screen when you have it on, or a phone screen when you have it on. When you're on a Google Chrome looking some shit up. It doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like a sheet of paper or snow, okay? Nah, their skin color is pink. Skin color is pink. Different shades, from light pink, very light pink, to real dark pink. And it depends on if they're if it's hot, if they've been in the sun too long, or if they've been in if they've been in the sun too long, or if they get in the sun be in the sun too long, they turn red. If they get mad, they turn red. If you hit them, they turn red. That's the look. That reason why they turn that way is because the so-called white people, not all of them, by the way, not all of them, but the first so-called white man and the progenitor of the so-called white race, is a man by the name of Esau, Jacob's brother. He's also and he's also called Edom. Let me get that. Let me get that. Genesis 25. Let me get the reason why, these so-called white people, as well as these other nations, hid the identity of the so-called black people, as well as you so-called Latinos and natives as well. Hid y'all's identity, as well as theirs. Genesis 25 and 22, and the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. Verse 23, and Yahweh said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Verse 24, when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Verse 25, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So first came out red. What I say about Esau? What I say about these so-called white people? They're a shade of red, pink, different shades of pink, but all that's a shade of red. And then when they come out, when they're born, they're very red. Verse 26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. So why wasn't Jacob described? Hey, why was Esau described to be different and not Jacob? Because Jacob looked like his parents, who were so-called black people. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. Verse 27, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. So, cunning hunter. What are these so-called white people known for doing? Hunting. They're very good at it. Very good at hunting. Trophy hunters are made up of so-called white people. Hunting just for the hell of it. The so-called Native Americans hunted like for survival and used every bit of the animal, every part of it. So-called white people, will hunt just for the hell of it, just because they feel like it, because it's in their blood, it's in their spirit. That's why. And Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. What are you so-called black people? What is so-called black people, Latinos and Native Americans, and those that go back to them? That too. Those that go back to them, but don't look like them like to do. They like to chill. They like to chill in the crib, man. They don't really like to go out and do all that type of shit. They don't like to do that, man. Go out and hunt, go out in the woods and hunt, hike, do all that type of shit, man. That you don't see so-called black people, Latinos, and natives, or descendants of them doing that. You don't see them doing that. Showing you, more showing you who they come from. Jacob. Verse 28, and Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison. Oh, something else. It's very, you will not know that. It's well known that, they like to hunt deer and shit. That's where it go back to. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob. Verse 29, And Jacob saw a pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. Now this is why part one of why they're pissed at us. Verse 30, and Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom, that is red. Also that, because like I said, he came in from the field, it's probably hot, sweating, shit, you know. These devils, man, they love to hunt, man. So, yeah, these Edomites, that's their thing. I'm gonna get into why I call them devils too. Verse 31, and Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. Verse 32, and Esau said, behold, I'm at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? So he sold his birthright. Verse 33, and Jacob said, we'll get into it. Verse 33, and Jacob said, swear it to me this day, and he swore it to him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Verse 34, then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. And so let me go to part two of why these devils. I'm gonna get into why I call them that. Why they hate us. And so basically, I'm going. Yeah. I should probably do that because hold on. Yeah, I should probably, just because this is like kind of a milk type, which means basically like the basics, the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of this truth. I should start off right here. As Genesis 21, 27, 1. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, his eyes were dim, so he could not see. He called Esau his eldest son, and said unto him, my son. And he said unto him, behold, here am I. Verse 2, and he said, behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. Verse 3, now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver and thy bow, and go out in the field, and take me some venison. Verse 4, and make me savory meat such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat them, so may bless thee before I die. Verse 5, and Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son. And Esau went into the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. Verse 6, and Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, verse 7, bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless thee before Yahweh before my death. And by the way, Jacob, the descendants of Jacob today, the so-called black people, as well as the Latinos and Native Americans, and their descendants that, they don't look that way. They're descendants that don't look that way as well. They're known, as so-called being mama's boys or whatever. Is what this go back to. And the Israelite woman, the so-called black woman, Latino woman, Native American woman, as well as well, a descendant of the Israelites that wishes the Israelite to look like the other nations. I'm gonna get into why I bring that out. Gotta touch on it. Hey, it's a reason why they is known for good cooking and shit. Reason why as well. I'm gonna get into it. Know how to season that food right. All right, let me get back into this. All right, so and yeah. Verse 8. Now therefore, my son, because I was at verse 7. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. Verse 9. Go now to the flock and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats. I will make them savory meat for my father, such as he loveth. Verse 10. And thou shalt bring it to my father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. Verse 11. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I'm a smooth man. Also showing you that as well, who they are. So-called white people are known to be hairy as fuck as well. Even they're women if they don't shave. Known to be hairy as fuck. So-called black people are known to have smooth skin. And the reason why so-called Latinos and some natives can be hairy too is because of intermixture. But yeah, so-called, that's another way you could tell. All right. Verse 12, my father peradventure will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. Verse 13, and his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son, only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. Verse 14, and he went and fetched and brought him to his mother, and his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. So she seasoned it right. Verse 15, and Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. Verse 16, and she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck. Verse 17, and she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So, skins of the kids of the goats. So his arms would feel hairy. By the way, his eyes were dim, so he could not see, so he couldn't tell. Verse 18, and he came into his father and said, My father. And I said, Here who art thou, my son? Verse 19, and Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau thy firstborn. I have done according to as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit, and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. Verse 20, and Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh thy power brought it to me. Verse 21, and Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. Verse 22, and Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. Because also this, another way you can tell so-called white people, what do they typically have that high, that nasal type voice, right? What how's the voice of a so-called black man or Latino man, or Native American man, even a lot of Israelite foreigners, Israelites that look like the other nations, a lot of the voice of them, what their voices is deeper than the Edomite. So different voices as well, different tone of voice. Verse 23, and he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hands, so he blessed him. You know, yeah. And a scoffer might be like, see, his hands were hairy, like his brother Esau. But hey, go back a few verses. He was feeling them goat skins and smelling that the clothes that Esau wore. Couldn't tell. Verse 24, and he said, art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. Verse 25, and he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he did drink. So, verse 28, and his father Isaac said unto him, come near now and kiss me, my son. Verse 27, and he came near and kissed him and smelled the smell of his raiment and blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is this, as the smell of a field, which Yahweh has blessed. Verse 28, therefore power gave thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, plenty of corn and wine. Verse 29, let people serve thee, the nations bow down to thee, be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that cursed thee, and blessed be everyone that blessed thee. Now we're gonna get into why we're not getting our people not getting these blessings right now. We're gonna get into that as well. And that's another way you could tell who the Israelites are today as well. And that so-called black people, Latinos and natives are primarily who they are. Another way you could tell. Verse 30, and it came to pass as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his honey. So he just dead right out, And Esau's brother came in from his honey. We'll get it. Verse 31, and he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. Verse 32, and Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. Verse 33, and Isaac trembled very exceedingly. He's probably like, yeah, it has. I'm gonna just keep bringing it out even more. And said, who? Where is he that had taken venison and brought it me? And I have eaten all before thou camest, and I blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. Verse 34, and when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, my father. Verse 35, and he said, thy brother came with subtlety and has taken away thy blessing. And hey, something else, man. What these Karens do, man, when they don't get their way and shit. What's Karen known for doing? Before this other shit? What are they known for doing? No, Karen, I want to speak to the manager for everything. Yo, it's in their spirit. And he said, verse 36, and he said, is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing, which he knows a fucking lie. He sold him his birthright. And so, the blessing went to whoever had the birthright. So it's like someone, he already sold him the car, right? He sold him the car, you know, and now got the title. That's all it was. And he said, "Hast thou not received the blessing from me?" But also this, how you know? Hey, Jacob is a supplanter, man. Jacob a finesser, man. That's something else. In fact, that's how they demonize our people. That's how they demonize our people. They're no good. They're thieves. They're thieves. They're hustlers. They're players. That's how they demonize our people. Like that, like that skit by that skit by damn. Remind me of this. That skit by that dude. Damn, the name escapes me. Hold on. Hold on. Dave Chappelle, right? That's that skit about this so-called black man. He didn't know he was a so-called black man. He was raised basically by a bunch of Edomites, and he called so-called black people, Latinos, and he called so-called black people and Latinos among others, but named them first. No good tricksters and shit. That's what Esau think about our people, man. It goes back to this. Verse 37, and Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? Verse 38. We're going to get into Esau's blessing. Verse 38, and Isaac said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me even also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Verse 39, and Isaac his father answered him and said, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. Verse 40, and by thy sword thou shalt live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So by that sword, what's the sword? Today's sword, the modern day gun, as well as that's just the basic form, right? And that ain't that self-explanatory though. Don't that show you who they is? And how does it says that Esau would have the fatness of the earth. Okay, the places with the most resources under his control. How did he take it? With the sword, the gun, the Gatling gun. And as well as, I'm going to get into why we call this devil, we'll call him the devil and the wicked, also uses propaganda, lies, also as a weapon. Makes trees and breaks them, gets you thinking that he's your friend, then stabs you in the back. Also a weapon. Uses weapons, biological weapons, smallpox blankets, Another example of that. By thy sword thou shalt live. Verse 41. And immediately he started doing that. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And since then, and Jacob had a dip, Jacob, he wasn't able to get to Jacob. But there you go. That was the start. Well, that was part 2 of why Esau hates us. But I'm gonna get into those curses. Those curses who and you're gonna, if you can't see who are the people that they fit, I mean, even Steve Wonder could see that. Salakia, y'all. Salakia. I'm gonna try to. I'm basically going into a lot because it's like an introduction. It's like I'm introducing it to this dude, but which I think I get the vibe that he was sincere about what he said. The shit he said was out of ignorance. He didn't know no better. So that's why I'm doing this live. It didn't seem like a gainsaying comment. Let me get but even if it is others who think like him, may come across this and learn something new, right? Since they don't know. Ezekiel chapter 35. These devils kept their hatred. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, verse 2, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, or Mount Seir, prophesy against it. Verse 3, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. Verse 4, and I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. This judgment to these devils, for what they've been doing. Verse 5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end. They kept doing this. Going back 8, this is specifically referring to the time of the Babylonians, but they kept doing it every time they got a chance to. And when they took power, as the Grecians, they're the first over all of Greece, right? Alexander, the first over all of Greece, son of Philip of Macedon. I'll show you why. Show you how he, Haman, I have something else I gotta get into, dude. I gotta try to keep this short. Yeah, editions of Esther chapter 16. Because that of the Apocrypha, which was taken out of the 1611 Bible, because the Esau, the so-called self-proclaimed white man, don't want y'all to know who y'all are. That's in there too. You so-called Latinos and natives don't want y'all to know who y'all are, and don't want you to know that he's the Edomites. In editions of Esther 16, chapter 16 basically tells you that Haman was a Macedonian, and Haman was an Agagite. He was an Agagite, and Agag was a descendant of Amalek. He was the last king of the Amalekites, who was a grandson of Esau. So just you see the connection there. He was an Edomite and also a Macedonian. And when Alexander the Greek, when him and those four generals took over, man. Him and after him, those four generals took over. When they took over, evils multiplied. I'm gonna show you why that matters, man. Going into who's this so-called white man as well. Had to address that as well, because the so-called white man is the reason why you think you're just Native American, and that so-called black people, and that you think so-called black people are African, and that they're actually black. He's the reason for that. He lied to you. Verse 6, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee into blood, and blood shall pursue thee until since thou hast not hated blood. Even blood shall pursue thee. Because they pursued us with the sword. Let me get yeah. Gotta keep it. So I'm gonna address that. I'm gonna touch on the curses. I'm gonna touch on who Judah and Gad is specifically, and might touch on their journey to why Latinos and natives, a lot of them look different. Most of them look different than so-called black people. Touch on that. Touch on how y'all got to the Americas, I think. And then after that, just wrap it up. Well, hey, how y'all got to what? I should say, third touch on how y'all got to the Americas and why y'all came to what's known as the Americas today, not the original name. I'll probably wrap it up then. I'm telling you, man. All right, so all right. So let me get I'm gonna try to get to it, just get to it. Let's get straight to it. Additions to Esther. 16. Showing you showing you right here. Showing you right here. It's all there. Verse 10, for Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of Amadatha, being indeed a stranger from Persian blood, and a far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us. So he's a Macedonian. Goes into how, hold on, I want to get to the point. Has so far forth obtained the favor that we showed toward every nation that he was called our father, and is continually honored of all the next person unto the king. But he, not bearing his great dignity, went about to deprive us of our kingdom and life. Verse 13 also showing you what they do. Have my manifold and cunning deceit sought of us the destruction, as well of Mordecai, who saved our life and continually procured our good, as also blameless Esther, partaker of our kingdom with her whole nation. Verse 14, for these means he thought, finding us destitute of friends, to have translated the kingdom of the Persians to the Macedonians. So there you go. Which is I'm gotta get to it. Wanna just straight to the point. Let me get Maccabees, 1 Maccabees, because it eventually was translated to Macedonians, but not then. I'm gonna show you. Let me get Psalms 17 and 13. Let me get that before I get that. Psalms 17, 13, KJV, talking about the wicked, who they is. Psalm 17 and 13. Arise, O Yahweh, disappoint him. Cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. There you go. So the wicked is the sword. Esau's blessed with what? The sword. He's also the wicked. So the wicked is the sword. There's a connection there. And also, let me get Maccabees, 1 Maccabees, chapter 1. It talks about when they first took over. So, Alexander, and it happened after Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes. They reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. Verse 2, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth. Verse 3, and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted in his heart, his mind is loud. Hebrew word for that's used for heart. Yeah. It means loud, meaning mind. So his mind was lifted up. Verse 4, and he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. Verse 5, and after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Verse 6, wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him. Hold on. Let me see if I'm still alive. No, these devils. Still alive. Wherefore he called his servants such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was still alive. Verse 7, so Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died. Verse 8, and his servants bare rule, every one in his place. Verse 9, and after his death they all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them. Many years and evils were multiplied in the earth. Verse 10, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphany. So many evils were multiplied in the earth. And then one of the wicked roots that came out of him, Antiochus, Epiphanes. You know what he did, man? Son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome, and he reigned in 137th year the kingdom of the Greeks. So, you know what he did, got even worse. So evils were multiplied. They all put crowns upon themselves, so their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. So you're right there. Because when the wicked rule the people more, there's so many scriptures, man. Because evil, bad times multiply. And let me get when the wicked rule. I get to it. I know I gotta work on that better. Keeping it short and to the point. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bears rule, the people mourn. There you go. All right, so let me get into these curses. Just touch on it, man. Gotta touch on these curses. Deuteronomy 28. All these curses. Just gonna get the ones that should stick out, right? But every one of these curses fits your so-called black people, Latinos, Native Americans, and the speckled birds. The Israelite foreigners. That look like the other nations, but go back to them. Let me get When you look up a speckled bird, it's a multicolored bird. In fact, let me get that, and then the curses, and then the curses. Who's Judah? Who's Gad? And the prophecies about Judah and Gad in Genesis 49, and then Second Ezra chapter 13, start at verse 40. Get into that. And hey, Hosea 7:8, wrap it up, because um, yeah, I'm trying to keep it short and to the point, but that comment, was so ignorant that you know so much shit had to be addressed. Like, 'cause that comment, like, damn, bro, that comment was completely off. But let me get something else. I'm gonna get thinking about it. There's a verse that I thought of. If not, I'll get into. Oh yeah, that one as well. Also showing you that skin color does not determine your nationality. Jeremiah 12:9. My heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about her are against her. Come, ye assemble all the beasts of the field. Come to devour. So, speckled bird. Look that up. It's a multicolored bird. That's the Most High Yahweh's heritage. Gives you an idea. And that's which is also the curses. Why you got our people looking like other nations as well. Well, let me get a few. You should already can already tell. Based on these curses, who's the Israelites. So let me get verse 16. Cursed shall I be. And let me get into why we're cursed. Verse 15. But it shall come to pass that thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Verse 16, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Verse 17, cursed shall thou be thy basket in thy store. Verse 18, cursed shall thou be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Verse 19, cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. So cursed shall thou be in the city, cursed shall thou be in the field. Doing bad no matter where we at. Cursed shall thou be thy basket in thy store. So we have a store. It's not gonna prosper. We have cursed shall be thy basket. Not gonna be able to to buy much, and shit we buy, not good for us. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body. Your kids, the fruit of thy land. For those that got land. For those that got land. The fruit of the land, cursed. Not gonna do well. Increase of thy kind. Those that have kind, which is basically cattle and shit. Showing you, and I'm from Texas and shit, and you have a lot of Jakes that are not just in the city but also in the country, but hey, they're not doing good out there either. Verse 19, cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. So when you're young, gonna go through it. When you're going out, when you're gonna die. When you're about to die, you're gonna go through it. As well as indoors, gonna go through it. Outdoors, gonna go through it. Verse 20, Yahweh shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. So cursing, vexation, and rebuke. You know, vexation, frustration. You know, rebuke, like you getting rebuked for going off, man. And all that thou settest thy hand unto for to do, as well as you can't do nothing right, always getting rebuked. And all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, until thou perish quickly. You know, not able to prosper. You know, even yeah, the average Jake, man, in this society has been that way for a while, hasn't been able to catch a break. You know, unless you sell out, and even then, curse shall out be when thou goes out. You know, they're dead, they're washed up. Esau don't need them no more. They're washed up. You know, these devils abandon them. You know, they be dying early too. A lot of them, these sellouts, and when they alive, you know, because they sold their soul to get ahead. Hey, demons be fucking with them. That's why they're always strung out on drugs and shit, or in and out of mental hospitals. Verse 20, yeah, so cursing, vexation, and rebuke is still there. Now that thou settest thy hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, until thou perish quickly. Okay, self-explanatory. Because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. I mean, what I was going to say also, you know, it tell with these so-called, well, these Jake-owned stores, man. So-called Black, Latina, Native Latino or Latina, and Native American, as well as stores owned by Speckled Birds, you know, Israelite-owned stores, right? These little small businesses, right? You know, they you know, and these restaurants, you know, down here, you know, I live in San Antonio, Texas, man. You know, you have a lot of these so-called Mexican restaurants down here, the ones that, hey, they be serving up that original Mexican food, that real so-called Mexican food, but they don't be prospering like that. While Taco Bell, you know, companies like them, man, you know, big name companies be prospering, be booming, have franchises everywhere. You know, because hey, so-called Mexicans, y'all Ishkar, you know, y'all one of the tribes of Israel. They don't own Taco Bell. That's another curse. You know, the stranger that is above thee, verse 43, shall get above thee, that is within thee shall get above thee very high, now shall come down very low. Verse 44, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. You see that? You know, the stranger that is within our our communities, so-called black community, you know, these Ishmaelite Arab stores, man, 7-Eleven, right? Or these you know, also, you know, you have these so-called East Indians, the Elamites today, Pakistanis, having these little stores, man. You know, they prospering. They making big bank and sending a lot of it to their relatives overseas. You know, the community don't benefit. And the same for so-called Mexicans. I bet if you was to go to Res, you would have you got the same thing going on over there. You know, so wherever our people is at, you know, getting exploited by these heathens and by Esau. You know, and having to get loans from who? From Esau. So-called, you barely hear of any so-called black-owned banks. You know, barely hear of them. Having to get loans from Esau. And even those banks that are owned by the so-called, well, they're for supposedly for the so-called Latinos, even them, man, even them, they're you trace it back, they're probably owned by some a descendant of those Spanish Edomites that took over. Because it so-called because the Spanish-speaking Edomites still run those countries. The elite, the elites in the so-called Latino countries are Spanish-speaking Edomites, man. They're the Españoles, los criollos. Northern Kingdom don't run those countries, and the institutions in those countries either, not run by Northern Kingdom. I bet if you was to look into a lot of the casinos so-called owned by the natives, if you look into them, a lot of them be owned by what's known as $5 Indians, man. Edomite or descendants of them. Edomite so-called white people that claim to be Native American. Claim that status, man. And then they take up all the benefits. He had a lot of them. And they got with so-called Native American women and had kids that look so-called Native American. That those are known as terrorists. So but if you look into them, most of the people receiving those benefits would be them. And the chiefs, which, just like the leaders of the so-called black community and the so-called Latino community, they're sold out. They're the so-called leaders. If there's a leader that rises up, that's basically, basically bucking up, right? Basically going off the reservation, right? Like they'll like say, it's kind of like bucking up. They take them out. So, yeah, man. The stranger that is above, that is within thee, shall get up very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Applies to all the tribes, and shows who they are. And also, these fucking hold on. Why are people? Hold on. What else? What else can I get? Pretty much all of these fit, and we was hit with these. Oh, we was hit with these pestilences as well. That Esau would use biological warfare on our people. Verse 21, Yahweh shall make, and he still does, Yahweh shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee till he have consumed thee from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. I know, hey, the so-called Native Americans went through that. Smallpox blankets. The so-called black people, the Tuskegee experiment, other experiments that they did, where they released pestilences into the so-called black community. So-called Latinos, they did that. They did that to them, the Spanish-speaking Edomites. Verse 22, Yahweh shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, with the sword, Esau. Oh, it says or drought, which also hits our people too. In these different areas, man. All this, man. The sword and with blasting. Looking at blasting is anything that's some that will have a detrimental effect stunt the growth of something. And hey, that's our people, man. Unable to get ahead, unable to grow in the society, unable to grow in any way, without before this truth came out, we was unable to grow spiritually. We didn't know who he was, who our power was calling on the titles God and JC, among others, also part of the curses. Verse 23, and the heaven that they shall pursue thee until thou perish. You're gonna perish. You know. Verse 24, Yahweh shall this hit our people from time to time. Yahweh shall make the rain of the land powder and dust from heaven, it shall come upon thee, so thou be destroyed. Verse 25. Really this one been hitting our people a lot. You look into the lynchings, you look into when these devils came against us, and also used our own people. Verse 25, we was getting our ass handed to us because the Most High Yahweh was not with us. Verse 25, Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them. 7 meaning completion, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth, scattered. Which is why our people don't all look the same. Verse 26, and thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and all the beasts of the earth, that no man shall free them away. Double meaning to it. Double meaning to it. I get to the point. Because that remind me of, because Revelation 11 was about our people as well. Revelation 11 and 8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord Yahweh Shai was crucified. That's Yahweh Shai being the true name of who the world really calls Jesus Christ. Oh, it's still on. I gotta wrap it up soon. All right, so let me get yeah, I addressed that basically, we're spiritually dead. We're spiritually dead as well. They hey they they killed us spiritually as well, man. Well, let me get verse 28. Yahweh shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Our people have been not knowing what the fuck is going on, and you still have those who you have those who still don't know who the fuck they is. You have those who still don't. Case in point, the dude that left this comment, verse 29, and thou shalt, could be, those who think like him, you know, giving them the benefit of the doubt, but that dude did delete his comment. So I don't know if it was because of embarrassment or because of that dude didn't want to. Yeah, he was embarrassed. He didn't want to. He was scared of what the reply would be, or I don't know what it was, or brother thought it was a scoffer, so he deleted him. But it's not there no more. Let me get verse 29, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind grope within darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save you. There you go. Not knowing what the fuck is going on, being lied to, kept in the dark, not prospering in your ways, hey, it's our people, can't get out these curses. Can't get out the bottom, the hood, the ghetto, the barrio, the reservation, whatever. Basically, these neighborhoods where our people's at, these projects, can't get out of them. Every single one of these curses, man. First, just gonna pinpoint some. Verse 30, and thou shalt. I'm not gonna go on over every single one of them, because for the sake of for time's sake, right? Because I don't want to spend too much time on one subject. Verse 30, thou shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt bear. Hey, build. That happened to us all day, man. That happened to us all day. Happened to us in slavery. Esau would take one of our would take your wife, man. Esau would take your wife and make her a bed wench. And the other nations would do that shit too. And by the way, you so-called Native Americans and Latinos, y'all was put on slave ships too. A lot of y'all was on the slave ships as so-called black people. Anyways, let me go into this further. Verse 31. Yeah, thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Speaking of slavery. As well as hey, remind me of what you Ish Christ so-called Mexicans do, man. In this country, a lot of y'all is in the construction. A lot of y'all is in construction. And hey, y'all, that's what y'all be doing a lot of the times. Literally building houses, not lying in them for shit pay. For very little pay. Well, man, for very little pay. It's not the pay that y'all should be getting. It's crumbs, okay? It's crumbs. And yeah, man, you're not gonna live in that house. And thou shalt not dwell therein, thou shalt plant a vineyard. But yeah, it goes back to it's happened to us. It's been happening to us, throughout history, and even today. When thou shalt not dwell therein, thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. You know, once again, during hardcore slavery, thou shalt plant a vineyard and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Happened to us all the time, as well as during this period where we're corporate slaves now. We're slaves of the elites. The 1% going on up. To those big 13 so-called Illuminati families. We're slaves to them. We're these devils got you so-called Mexicans once again, you know, pertain to this comment too, because you mentioned Mexico. Got these devils got so-called Mexicans and Central Americanos as well, Travis Zebulon, in them fields. In them fields, made me think of them California grape fields, man. Got y'all up in there. Got y'all in them fields, gathering, planting them vineyards, but not gathering the grapes thereof, and picking the grape and harvesting and all that. Y'all are the farm hands, but you don't benefit from what y'all do. Get paid peanuts. Verse 11, you have to work from sun up to sundown, before sun up to before sundown to after sundown. Bust your ass all day, and get paid shit. Verse 31, that ain't, yeah, only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and if you get deported. You get deported, you get punished, but the corporation just gets fined. And a slap on the wrist at that. Verse 31, thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes. Hey, all that shit happened to us. And thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away before thy face, and it shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given to thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Verse 32, thy sons shall be your possessions. And in verse 32, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given to another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail, who longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. Hey, you know what happened to slavery, man? When these Hamites grabbed up so-called black people and sold them to Esau, they separated families. Or so on to Ishmael, families were separated. You know, hey, same with you Native Americans, Latinos, families got separated. Some of y'all was, a lot of y'all was put on. You had a lot of so-called Native Americans being put on ships and shipped off to the Caribbean and to Europe. Had a lot of them being shipped over there. Families are being separated, and also this. Hey, the Native American boarding schools. There you go. Families being separated. Thy sons and daughters given to another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail, will long for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thine hand. Happened to each and every one of the tribes, wherever both the ones on both the so-called black people, Latinos, Native Americans all went through that and are going through that. Hey, Biden still running them kids in cages camps. He didn't shut them. He didn't stop that shit. He's continuing it. So that's an example, and that's an example of that right now. going on today. Kids in cages camps that they got on the border. Example of that all over again. There shall be no might in thine hand. Hey, human trafficking going on. A lot of it with our people. Sons and thy daughters given to another people. And I shall look for failing, long for them all the day long. There shall be no might in thy hand, man. A lot of them go missing, can't get them back. You know why? Because the elites run these human trafficking rings, man. The elites run them. You know, state could get these children for their sacrifices, you know, and to use as well sexually because Esau, you know, the elites of Esau that rule over us, they ain't right in their heads, you know. Hey, a lot of so-called Latino countries are targeted for human trafficking. A lot of them, and they get like in Mexico, get the Mexican drug cartels pay them off, you know, because they're paid off and they're armed by Esau, the so-called white man. Where are they getting their guns from? Guns is not legal over there in Mexico. Where they getting their guns from? They getting all them high-powered guns from the so-called white man, Esau Edom, you know, to do his bidding. And they'll do that. They'll do human trafficking as well, you know, for the elites of Esau, the Big 13. You know, because Habakkuk 2 and 4, behold, his soul which is lifted up in him is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. You know, not upright. You know, that's these devils, man. So yeah, you know, that's more fulfillment of that curse. Deuteronomy 28 and 32. Yeah. Yep, verse 33. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away. Verse 34, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. You know, fruit of thy land, all thy labors, you know, everything you work for being taken from you, given to another people. The nation which thou knowest not eat up, you know. It's Edomites, these heathens, you know, these Esau, you know, benefiting off our labors. Everything we do, all the inventions of our people, man. They don't give our people credit, man. Esau takes it. He takes credit. You know, hey, you know, that's why they invented a patent office to take credit for all our inventions. And yeah, you know, only oppressed and crushed away, you know, whatever we do is taken from us and we're only oppressed and crushed away. That applies to all the tribes, man. He's showing y'all you're the same people and showing who the tribes are. So-called black people, Latinos, and Native Americans. And, you know, the Israelite foreigners, the speckled birds, showing who they are among the heathen. That's how you could tell. Verse 34, so that thou should be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. You know, vexed, pissed off. Verse 36, Yahweh shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other powers, the gods wood and stone. You know, our people into all types of philosophies, so-called black people into all types of philosophies. You know, worshiping all types of idols, man. You know, wood and stone. Hey, symbolizing what the main religions that our people are into: Christianity, symbolized by the wood, the wooden cross, right? But they teach you another Yahushai. They teach you a false name and a false image. You know, false image and false doctrines and pagan holidays. And you people, our people, been eating it up. If it wasn't for this truth, people would stay eating it up. But some of y'all are still eating it up. 2/3 is 2/3 of our people ain't gonna get it. And the stone representing the Kaaba stone, from Islam. The second most populous religion. And the second most among our people. Among you so-called Latinos, man. Majority is it's majority with y'all. Yeah, with all this applies, down the line to all the 12 tribes, man. Christianity, then Islam. And then all these other religions and bugged out philosophies that our people follow, thinking that it's the truth. Verse 32, now shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither Yahweh shall lead thee. And this is, you was calling Israelites black, you was calling Israelites of the house of Judah black. You was calling yourself Native American or an Indian. Those are bywords. That's not our true identity. You're not just native to the Americas. You're not Indian. That's a byword. No one's black. No one's skin is black, and skin color don't make you a nation. Skin color don't determine your nationality. There you go. So, what is it? A proverb and a byword. Proverbs, stereotypes about our people. Stereotypes not just of a so-called black man misunderstood, but of a so-called Latino man misunderstood, and so-called Native American man misunderstood, and even with the speckled birds as well. Proverbs and bywords among all nations where Yahweh shall lead thee. It's all there. You go read on down Deuteronomy 28. It's all there. And I should touch on that evil eye. Verse 54, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his bosom, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Verse 55, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he have nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in all thy gates. What it's going to lead to. And it has led to it in the past, by the way. Verse 56, the tender and delicate woman among you, 70 AD, all those other sieges, after these devils came over here to the Americas, when they took down our people that was ruling over there in Europe, when they took down our people in West Africa, all these sieges that happened, that was the same sort of shit that was going on. That's what it led to. And part of it was our people being, some of our people would take the side of the enemies. You had West African kings that were Jakes that took the side of the Hamites and the Edomites because they thought that they would be in good case. They thought that they would be left alone. You had the Native American scouts, man. You had them. They did it because they thought they would be left alone. You had the Native American tribes, those Gadites that took the side of the so-called white man against the other, the other, the other little tribes, man. One against another. Why? Because they thought they'd be left alone. Well, where are they now? In the reservations. Where are those Judite kings and kingdoms at? You know, they're in they're either in slavery here in Babylon the Great, which is America, according to scripture, or they're in slavery, in other places, in other parts of the Americas, or in other places, Europe. Shit, some was even shipped off, to Asia, to different parts of Asia, East Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, you know, back to Northeast Africa and what is now known as the Middle East, that area as well. The Malinches, where they at now, man? Oppressed with the rest. They thought they was gonna be in good case, so yeah, and then you have that just so that's an example of that. I shall be evil towards his brother. Also, you looking at who you the dude who posts that comment, you looking at so-called black people as not being your brothers. That's an example of that too. Yeah, as well, man. The tribes beefing, based on yeah, the tribes beefing, the tribes beefing with themselves, within the tribes, man. Light skin versus dark skin. Old head versus youngin. That been going on. Different hoods versus each other. That been going on. That's an example of that. You know, um, hey, yeah. Texas, niggas, Texas, hey, Texas Judites, Texas, yeah, so-called black people. You know, Latinos from Texas versus from Cali, shit like that. The gangs beefing with each other. Bloods and Crips, same thing. No Daniels versus Serenials, shit like that. Among the so-called, it's just so many examples of them. So many examples of them. Verse 56, the tender and delicate woman among you, which will not venture to set the sole of a foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, toward her daughter. And this is what's going to lead to too, as it has in the past. Verse 57, and toward the young one that cometh out from beneath her feet, because it's a mindset first. And toward her children, which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for one of all things. She's not going to care, and she's going to be starving. Secretly in the siege and straightness, or with thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. So tender and delicate woman among you, which, before they was like this, which will not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness, tenderness. Her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son and toward her daughter. So nowadays, the so-called black woman, the Latino woman, and the Native American woman, as well as the speckled bird woman, is like fauna women as well. They're all looking, to finesse their men. They're looking to finesse their men. They're looking to get that child support bag. They're looking to get that alimony bag. That's why they want you to put a ring on it. That's the hustle. That's why, they try to get you to busting them. That's the hustle. Because then you get her pregnant, and then she uses the kids against you. That's that child support bag. And then not only does she get that from you, she gets it from the government as well, man. With extra food stamps, all that. All those benefits. So hey, basically the government, what they did after the '60s and shit, the government did is they started rewarding these females for basically kicking the man out the house and shit, basically being adulteresses. They started rewarding them for that. Yeah, kick the man out the house, kick the man out the house, and you get rewarded. You get a bag for that. Just finesse them and kick them out. You get a bag for that. And just seeing her children, which they'll flex. They'll flex and be on the internet and be like, oh, I'm such a great mother and shit. When really they had them kids just to get that bag. You know, and also use it against the baby daddy, man. A lot of cases this happen. Majority of the time this happen. The BM will keep the kids away from dad. The BM will make it hard for the dad to see the kids, man. But she'll want all the benefits. She'll want the child support and the alimony the same, even more. There's songs about it, man. So there's songs that go into how they do it, man. There's songs on it, like one song, by the old Kanye. That that one song by the old Kanye, Gold Digger, right? Goes into that. As well as that too. That's evil eye. The woman having an evil eye towards a man, using them for his money, being a gold digger. All that's a form of that. While he gets no benefits, he doesn't get to see his kids for one. Doesn't get the visitation, but she want more child support just so she can be balling on his diamond shit. That evil eye. Versus, yeah, toward the young one that cometh out from between your feet. Because now, for these females, these Eves out here, it's just like they're a commodity. All these curses falling upon our people. Verse 58, if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of the law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, Yahweh thy power, because we didn't fear the Most High Yahweh. Our people as a nation committed adultery against the Most High Yahweh. And so now, what's happening to us, our women have been doing the same shit to us as a judgment. But they're going to be judged as well. And also this. And, basically showing you how being scattered among the nations fit the curses. Verse 64, and Yahweh shall scatter thee. Verse 64, and Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even to the other, and there thou shalt serve other powers, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Verse 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but Yahweh shall give thee there a trembling heart, and filling of eyes, and a sorrow of mind. And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth, even the others. So, and you be if you and of course that people are gonna over time, uh, the descendants of those Israelites are gonna look way different than their ancestors, like being scattered among these other nations. No shit. Our people love getting with the women of the other. Our men love getting with the women of the other nations. And hey, Eve loved, doing getting with the oppressor, but it lineage, but your nationality is determined by your father's lineage. That's Numbers chapter 118, 1 verse 18, going on down through chapter 2, shows you that. Verse 65, and among these nations shall thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. Also, genealogies in the Bible always like this, and who was the son of him, of this man, who was the son of this man, who was the son of this man. It's patrilineal. Verse 65, and among those nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but Yahweh shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. Gonna catch the curses wherever you go. Doesn't matter. Wherever you go, however your ancestors, who are you? Who are your ancestors come back? None you under the sun. Look, doesn't matter. Curses follow you. Verse 66, and thy life shall hang in drought and doubt before thee. You can't tell me that don't fit so-called black people, Latinos, and Native Americans, and these different speckled birds. You can't tell me it don't fit them. So yeah, verse 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would power Yahweh it were even. In the even thou shalt say, would power Yahweh it were morning. For the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and with the sight of thine eyes, for the sight of thine eyes, the eyes which thou shalt see. Verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. He's kicker right here. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And thou shalt be sold unto your enemies for bondman and bondwoman, and no man shall buy you, meaning save you. Meaning save you. It's really wordplay being used here. It's save you. Because you refer back to verse 29, and thou shalt grope in dark noonday as thou blind gropest in darkness. Thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. Thou shalt only be oppressed and spoiled anymore, to be stolen from and to be spoiled, There you go, we're prisoners of war. And no man shall save thee. We're still in this man's hand, And that goes into the law. You go into the law, like I already been going into a lot, like it's almost gonna be 2 hours and a half. But I'm doing that because I gotta because may not know. That's why. But yeah, because it's a few ignorant people that may be able to get it, but yeah. I'm gonna try to keep the lives shorter. I've been trying to, but I got got work on that. But this time I'm doing this because of this reason, but I'm gonna get to the point soon. But you just look in the law, and basically, if you had became a slave to a stranger because, like, for whatever reason, right? Like, one reason could be because he was poor, so you went to work for him. Couldn't You went to work for him? You sold yourself to their hands. It's basically the stranger. Okay, Slakia, my bad. The stranger was able to buy you. Basically, because he was rich, and you was really couldn't buy yourself out of the situation. And so since you couldn't, your brother could. That's what that goes into. And also, you also when you bail someone out, man, that's also what you're doing. So you could think about it like that. No man has been able to bail our people out. All these leaders, but none of them have been able to get us out of this situation. Because all these solutions, they're not saying turn back to the Most High Yahweh and the Son Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh is the name of the Father, by the way. Congregation, well, it goes back to Moses in the burning bush. He gave him his name. I am what Yahweh means is a conjugation of that. It means he is. Let me get it's his name in the original Hebrew, which has no e's or u's. The ancient Paleo original Hebrew. Yahweh Shai is his son's name in the ancient Paleo original Hebrew. Meaning Yahweh Shai means he saves. Those are the names to call upon. You call on Yahweh in the name of his son Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew. Bahashim meaning in the name. But let me get verse Genesis 49, getting into Judah, which is so-called black people today, specifically so-called black people here in America, Babylon the Great, and Gad, you so-called Native Americans, because you said you was a so-called Native American. Verse 8, Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. And look at it, all the trends started by so-called black people. All the rest of the tribes and even the speckled birds follow suit, man. Country music came out of so-called black people. Hey, blues came out of that. Blues came actually flipped that. Country came from a part of it came from blues, man. So from so-called black people beats. Memphis blues, rock music, same thing there, man. So-called black people beats, man, was used. And then the other tribes and the speckled birds follow suit. Hey, jazz as well, jazz as well. A R&B as well, man. Each and every one of them. Hey, hip hop today, man, started by so-called black people. Then, it picked up, among the so-called Latinos. You have the so-called Latinos and Native American rappers, and they fire too. And even speckled birds, man. Like shit, like several examples, man. Hey, Mac Miller, was one of them. Eminem, them types, man. You should have different rap artists that Speckled Birds, different artists that's Native American. Superman. Well, y'all know about you Native American, you know about him. But that started with so-called black people. There's plenty of Latino artists too. That all started with so-called black people. Even Latino music, man. A lot of their beats from a lot of their beats come from so-called black people. So there you go. There you go. Basically, the trendsetters. Verse 9, Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, even the styles as well, The styles, foods, all that, man. From Judah down to the other 12 tribes and the speckled birds, and then, that's how basically all these trends, everything that's popping is introduced through the tribes, starting with Judah, so-called black people. Verse 10, verse 9, though, moving on. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He crouched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? Explaining why. Hey, the so-called black people, especially the so-called black people here in America, hey, still ain't rolls up like that. Still ain't rolls up like that. Still, our people are still trusting, even though not as much now. Now people are starting to get more fed up. But our people are trusted, especially Judah, so-called black people, trusted in the system, to work out eventually. Just got to get the right politician in office. He'll stop the cops from shooting down our people. He'll stop, he lift our people out of poverty, discrimination. He'll stop all that shit. And each time, disappointment. Obama, right? Everyone thought he was going to change shit. Especially Judah. So-called black people thought Obama was going to change shit because our people was in the impression that Obama was one of us, but Obama was an indigenous African. He was a Hamite, so he didn't. So all we got from that was chump change. That's all we got from that. And he didn't do shit about these cops that was shooting down unarmed so-called black people, as well as you Latinos and natives. He didn't do shit about that. Because all he did was a few speeches. He didn't do shit about that. He actually passed the Blue Lives. Some they helped the cops, I think. Some about a Blue Lives Matter Act or something, or Blue Lives something, blue something that basically it would help the cops, man. Hold on, let me get the law he passed because shows you. Hey, literally no man shall buy. Blue Lives Matter bill, Obama. Law, Obama. See the one that he passed. Blue alert, okay, blue alert. So he signed them to help. Yeah. He signed it to help the cops, man. Obama signed a letter bill to protect cops from threats. So, however, cops are not under attack in Babylon, America. Yeah, so that's what he did. Yeah, he did. He did sign the blue alert law, man. That was why. That's why you get one whenever some shit happened to a cop. Because Obama signed it in, but he didn't do shit for our people. But yeah, Clinton before him, because the majority of so-called black people, so-called black majority of so-called black people trust, in the left wing of the eagle. But you got some that, they trust in the Republicans, the right wing of the eagle, which neither party helped our people. The other 12, the other 11 tribes follow after Judah that way, and the speckled birds, follow that, trusting in these politicians when they don't help us. Trusting in Egypt. So as the old lion who shall rouse him up, and hey, the answer is, hey, the Most High Yahweh, the Most High Yahweh is going to use Esau. He's using them to rouse Judah up. And then the other tribes, which is the other tribes, so-called Haitians, the so-called West Indians, which are mainly of the tribes of Levi and Benjamin, and in the Northern Kingdom, so-called Latinos and natives, gonna link right up. But it's gonna take, first it's gonna be Judah, so-called black people. It's gonna get roused up. And also, who was the first? When you look into the history of this truth, who were the first people that were being woken up to the truth? So-called black people. Then it was so-called African Americans. Then it was so-called Haitians, so-called West Indians, and then Northern Kingdom. Verse 10, the scepter shall not. This goes into Yahweh Shai, whom the world arrogantly calls JC. He's from the tribe of Judah. The scepter shall not. So that just goes into that, goes into that, But let me get Gad. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Hey, self-explanatory. Who's the troop that overcame you so-called Native Americans? The U.S. Cavalry, but y'all gonna overcome at the last. And let me get this as well, man. Verse 20. Hold on. Yeah. And of Gad he said, blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He dwelleth as a lion and teareth the arm with the crown of the head. Yep. Because Gadites was known as Gadites, so-called Native Americans, y'all got down. Verse 21, and he provided the first part for himself, because there in the portion of the law given was he seated, and he came with the heads of the people. He executed the justice of Yahweh and his judgments with Israel. And also let me get this about Gad. I'm trying to make this live as short as possible, but usually, I would be able to. I've been trying to. Next live probably be way shorter. Let me get hold on. Gad, right? 1 Chronicles 5:18, showing you how Gad be like, so-called Native Americans, and Reuben, so-called Seminoles, unstable as water. Verse 18, the sons of Reuben, the firstborn, and the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh, so-called Cubans, of valiant men, men able to bear buckler and sword, and to shoot with bow, and skillful in war, were 440,703 that went out to war, man. Yeah, they got down, man. They got down. It's the history of Gadites. Yeah, I gotta hurry up and wrap this up. But verse 19, they made war with the Hagarites, with Jeter and Nephish, Nodad, Ishmaelites. I think Hagarites would be that. Verse 20, and they were helped against them. And Hagar, the mother of Ishmael, right? And heathen nations. And they were helped against them, and the Hagarites were delivered into the land. All they were with them, for they cried to power Yahweh in the battle, and he was entreated of them because they put their trust in him. Okay, so when you look into the war cry of the Native Americans, man, it's similar. What they say, man, is similar. It's like broken Hebrew, man. They say Yahweh, huh, man? Go Yahweh, go back to that. That's the war cry, right? War cry. For showing you they even got down like that back then. And showing you all the Gadites. Showing you all the Gadites. And yeah. I'll wrap it up with this. Second Esdras. And these Edomites, they so-called white people clown on you, clown on so-called Native Americans for that. But hey, that come from y'all crying to the Most High Yahweh. And let me get this real quick. Second Esdras 1340. Those are about northern tribes, Latinos and natives. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land. And in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over to the waters, so they came into another land. Verse 41, but they took this counsel, Salakia, they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. Verse 42, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. Verse 43, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. They entered into it by the narrow passages. Verse 44, for the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood, so they were passed over. held it still, because the narrow passages of a river, the water is just real fast. Verse 45, for through that country, so it calmed it down, it could calm it down. Calmed it down. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Osiris. For through that country, all that area where they was going through, man. You could see it, man. Around into the Arabian Sea, from the Persian Gulf into the Arabian Sea, and then into the Indian Ocean, around the east and southern parts of Africa, around the east, southern parts of Africa, to the Americas. What's known as that today, known as Arthur back then. I'm gonna get into it. Verse 24, for the Most High then showed signs for them, and hell still a flood, so they were passed over. Verse 45, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. Yep. Oh yeah, Khan. The same region is called Arthur. And also, let me say this: throughout the region, when you said, in that part of the ocean, what I'm trying to say, in that part of the ocean around the southern tip of Africa, it's like, it's a lot of storms that be going by that area, the Antarctic Ocean, Southern Ocean. It's a lot of them. It's a lot. It can get real bad out over there. So, waves can be pretty rough too. So, the flood was held still. They were passed over. And I was like, yeah. So they would pass over, and then through that whole area, it was a year and a half. You look at it, different places they could have gone, and all the way, man. It's a year and a half. From there, the trip on ships from Iraq, from what's known as the Middle East today, all the way to all the way around Africa to the Americas. You could see how it would take a year and a half. And the same region is called Arthur at verse 46. Then dwell they for the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. So they still here. They're dwelling. They're still majority here. But yeah, that's that's showing. Hey, that's more proof that Northern Kingdom is so-called Latinos and natives. That you're not Latino, not Native American. Y'all Northern Kingdom of Israel. So-called black people is your brothers, and the reason why y'all look different than so-called black people is because of this. Let me get it. And some of y'all don't look as different as y'all think. In fact, some of y'all is just as dark or darker than so-called black people. Let me get it. I'm gonna just end it on this. Hosea 7. Hold on. Hosea 7 and 8. Ephraim, he had mixed him, Salakia. Ephraim, he has mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. So Ephraim is a cake not turned because he mixed himself among the people. So cake not turned, look, it. And what happens to a cake not turned? It gets burned on one side is light on the other. So it's like an analogy. Some Latino, so-called Latinos and natives are real dark, and some are real light. So some of them do look like so-called black people, and some of them look in between. Some of them got that Indio look, look like Esau likes to call Asiatic because hey, basically, long story short, the East Asians, they look that way because they're the Moabites and the Ammonites, and Moab and Ammon was right next to the Northern Kingdom in the land. So you had a lot of intermixing there. And also with the Assyrians, also, with the definitely with the Assyrians as well. You could see that because how the Assyrians look like today, look like they look like Ishmael, man. They look like Ishmael. This is the reason why Ishmael look way same reason why Ishmael look the way they are today. So-called Latinos, if they grow out, hey, they grow out their beard and all that, and they hey, like they grow out their beard real big and shit. They kind of look like uh like a so-called Arab, you know, Syria's all the way out there in Iraq, they could look like someone from Iraq, and the same for the same reasons, because they intermix with them Ottoman Turks, which were so-called white people, Edomites. And then you had the Spanish-speaking Edomites that came over here and took over. Hey, Ephraim is fruitful, man. Ephraim, our people are fruitful in general, but yeah, man. So they didn't get rid of Ephraim. You know, they didn't get rid of Ephraim. Our people just mixed. Hey, Northern Kingdom just mixed among the people again. It's why. So that's it. That explains why. That explains why a lot of y'all look different than so-called black people. It's not because of what you said. Oh, they're from Africa and we're not, and we're natives to the Americas. We're no. This is the real. These are the real reasons why. Yeah, the real reason why right here. All right, so I'm gonna wrap it up right here. I hope this live was edifying to the elect. I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim out there, spreading this truth like wildfire in truth and in all truthfulness and in sincerity. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners who look like, to the elect among the Israelite foreigners who look like who look like the other nations, being like unto the speckled bird. But the Spirit bears witness with our spirit that they're the children of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Oh, and side note, because we don't have the genealogies going all the way back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and 12 sons. So we could tell by the prophecies about the Israelites who they are. The curses and description. And also, the Spirit bears witness. Let me get that. This is like to be. I'm going into all these details because, like I said before, it's directed at those who may have just came across the truth. So I believe that dude may have just came across the truth, But I'm not sure. But you probably do have some that's like that. They're just hearing about the truth. So let me get the Spirit bears witness chapter in Romans. The Spirit bears witness with our spirit that they're the children. Let me get that. That scripture that I'm referring to. Spirit bears witness, KJV, Romans 8 and 16. And the Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we're the children of power, Yahweh. You know, and if children, then joint heirs, verse 17. Heirs of power, Yahweh, and joint heirs with Mashiach. Of that, so we, you know, so only Israelites can be that. Hold on. Romans 9, 1, Romans 9 and 4 were Israelites to whom pertain the adoption and the covenants, the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law, and the service of power, Yahweh, and the promises. Verse 5, whose are the fathers, and to whom concern the flesh, Mashiach came, who is over all, power, Yahweh, blessed forever. Amen. So there you go. And also, let me get for they have a zeal, which is a part of that. That's part of how we know as well. Romans 10 and 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to power Yahweh for Israel is that they might be saved. Verse 2, for I bear them record they have a zeal of power Yahweh, but not according to knowledge. Yep. That's you know, it's also how you could tell, you know, wherever Israel's at, man, they're gonna have that zeal. You know, they think they're doing the will of the Most High, Yahweh, even though they're not, and they don't know that they're not. They're gonna do it like with zeal, you know. Turn up in them church houses with zeal, you know. Them mosque, wherever they're at, where they turn up with zeal. This is but without no knowledge. But really, the elect is gonna have zeal with knowledge. So yeah, I just want to touch on that because this is like for newcomers, man. And someone who make that comment will make that comment, you know, sincerely because they're ignorant. You know, they're a newcomer. You know, so yeah, continuing on with wrapping it up. Shalom to the real sisters out there, you know, holding it down, staying in order. You know, shalom to all the elect. Stay strong. Stay strong, and you know, we almost out of here. Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man's queendom. This ain't no kingdom. Queendom is going down. You know, his rulership is almost over with. You know, his short season is almost done. It's about to go back in chains. And we're going to have the kingdom, you know, for good this time. You know, Yashrala forever. Yashrala meaning Israel in Hebrew. Yashrala forever. You know, Shalom, and hey, I'm going to try not to make my life so long. But like I said before, it's because it's like kind of introducing these people to the truth. That's why. But in the future, yeah, I'm try to cut the time now. But yeah, Shalom, stay strong. You know, death to America, Ababa Ball, dead to Esau, Edom, about Adawam, dead to these heathens, about Gawayim, dead to the 2/3, And shalom, man. Because y'all ain't writing. Shalom to the elect. Stay strong. Almost out of here. We're almost out of here, and we got next in forever. Hey, Shalom Yashar forever.